So now we're in Photoshop, and I'm going to go to Image, Adjustments, Levels. And what I'm going to try and do is clean up this drawing. I want to make this as dark as I can, the outline, and I want to make the white as bright as I can. So first I'm going to turn this into grayscale. And now I'm going to go into Image Adjustment Levels. And I'll grab this eyedropper over here. This is the white eyedropper. And I'll click in the white area. And I'll continue to click in the gray areas that I want to make even whiter, until I'm pretty happy with getting rid of all those gray wrinkles and all that, white that's not in there. And then I grab that black eyedropper and select the outline to darken that black even further. So what I'm going to do now, this design seems a little stiff to me. I'll double click on the background and I'll turn this into a layer. So I want to manipulate this drawing a little bit more by grabbing my warp, and I can tweak this drawing around to make it even more dynamic and more interesting. You'll see you can pull on these handles on the side and just tweak this drawing out until you feel that you're happy with it. Sometimes you'll do a drawing, it'll be a little bit more stiff than what you'll want with it. Even though it looks cool, you may want to take it even further. And using Photoshop as a tool for this is, a very beautiful thing. I use this tool constantly for design work. So, I'll just grab this warp, manipulate these handles, because like I said, I want this heart to appear like it's, turned maybe a quarter of being direct on. I don't want it straight on. I want it turned to the side. And with this warp tool, I can control the volume of this shape, even making it appear to be more turned or more dynamic. So I'll just keep tweaking it around until I'm happy with, where this shape's going. You can play around with this constantly. If you're not happy with what you've done, you're not set in stone, you can hit Escape on the keyboard, and that'll take you right out of the warp transform tool, and then you can, select it again and start over. Or you can hit Enter and, complete what you just did. And if you're unhappy, you can hit Control Z to undo the changes that you just did. So here's Control Z back and forth, before and after, before, after, and you see that, this drawing looks a lot better. It's not as stiff. I think it flows a lot freely, and I think it works a lot better for me. So I'm going to grab the white and my brush tool, paintbrush, and I'm just going to paint in the areas that aren't white. And now I'll grab my move tool, and I'm going to manipulate this even further. What you do is you click on one of these handles, right click, and you can grab the transform. This is the skew. So I didn't like that, so I'm going to go back to my distort or my warp, and I'm going to tweak it even a little bit more. It was cool where it was, but you can do the warp twice. You're not stuck with it once. You can do it as many times as you want until you feel that you've accomplished what you wanted with this drawing. So I'm just making some subtle changes. What I'm really trying to do is make those banners appear a little bit more curved. I want them to look like they wrap a little bit more. They seemed a little too stiff and straight on in the beginning. Now they have a better curvature, and what I'm doing is grabbing my paintbrush, painting in those white areas that are missing. And now I'm going to center this piece. Then I'm going to save this as a JPEG. Hit save. Hit 12 for your maximum. And now I have a font program called Extensis. And this is a great way to manage your fonts. I'm going to go in with more of an old English type thing or a script, so I can look at these fonts ahead of time and see if there's something that I like before I move into Illustrator. So I'm going to turn these fonts on, so they'll be active inside of Illustrator now. We'll go over to Illustrator. I'm going to select New Document, letter size, hit OK. And now I'm going to go to File, Place, and I'm going to scroll to where I put that heart. And there it is. I'll just double click on that, hit Place, and this will place this into the document. Now before I do my lettering, I'm going to select this layer over here, and I'm going to hit this little pop out and turn this into a template. Now this means you can no longer manipulate this layer or drawing on it. So before you can use the type tool, you have to create a second layer. And I'm going to grab my pen tool, and I'm going to click a path in the same curvature of what this banner is. And I'm going to use this path to create my type on this line, and then it will flow with the shape of this banner. So select your type on a path tool, click right on this line. Now we're going to go up into the point size. I'm going to change that to about a 36. And I'm going to look for, I'm just going to type the name in, George. I'll select that font. I'm going to raise the point size to about 62, 60. And I just grab my selection tool, and I'm going to move that up more into the middle of the banner. You see this name is already flowing in the shape here. This is something you couldn't do precisely by hand. So I'll select the font, and then I will highlight this area, and I'll use my arrow key, the up and down arrow, to scroll through all my fonts. And I'll just keep going through these fonts until one just pops out and screams, this is it, this is the one. So using my up and down arrow keys, scrolling through all the fonts that I've turned on through the program Extensis, and we're just looking for the right, font that works with this heart, this style of design. So here we go. It's something I think I can work with. So what I'll do now is raise the point size and try and fill up this banner. Just keep going with it until I feel that it's right. And what you can do here is right at the bottom down here is this manipulator handle. And if you click on it, you can drag this font on that path, so you can place this exactly where you want it inside of the banner. So I'm just sliding it around on the path. You got to make sure you select that handle properly. It'll drive you crazy sometimes trying to grab that manipulator, but so I'm going to go up here and grab my paragraphs. And I'm going to actually look for my, it's the font management. We're looking for it. It is under type. Here we go. No. Scroll down under type, character. You can hit Control T as well. So what I want to do is control the spacing in between this letter. I want it to fill up the banner more. So I'm just going to click through these numbers, and you see that the letters are spacing even further apart. I don't want them that bunched together. I want them to be more legible. because the further apart they are in the tattoo, the better they're going to look, the more readable they'll be, and, you know, the better they'll last over time. So I'm just selecting that path, nudging these letters where I feel they fit best. I can even turn them a little to flow with this banner that much more. If you grab your manipulator handles, you see it turns into this arrow tool where you can rotate. So I'm just going to do the same thing for this other name. We'll just click right through here. Grab my pen tool and clicked on the path. And I'll have more lessons like this on my other DVD for Illustrator and Photoshop for tattooists. Make sure you click on that path. You got the right tool selected. Select my line, select my type tool, click on the path, there it is. And now we'll type out her mother's name, Rhina. And I've typed the name out, but I clicked too far on this path, so I want to grab the manipulator tool. I'm going to highlight all, hit Control A, and I'll make this font smaller. And now I'll grab my selection tool and grab that handle and drag that font over to the left on that path. So I didn't get the A on here. We'll type that in. And I'll basically do the same thing. Control the size of the font, whatever works best in this banner. We'll nudge it up a little, move it into place. Control the point size. You see, if you go a little too big, then that letter will tend to disappear because it's going off the edge of that path. So you have to find a happy medium there. I'm going to rotate this just a little bit more to make it flow inside that banner. We'll nudge it just a little bit more using my arrow keys, left, right, and up and down. And I'll scale it out just a little bit further, making it fill that space up. And then I'll control the spacing on this letter as well, because I don't want it to be too tight. So what I'm going to do now is turn these fonts into outline. So I've switched the palette. The fill was black before, but now the stroke is black. But I want to put a fill in these letters as well, because I don't want those lines of the scroll going through the letters. So I want to get rid of that. So what I've done is copied these fonts and pasted another copy of it right in front of the other, filling that font with white so I can get rid of the line of the scroll going through that letter. And then right at the end here, I'm going to select that template layer. I'll untemplate it, and then I'll print this design out and make a stencil out of this.